All right, hello again, everyone. Khalo Awesome here, and we are in episode 4 of our career mode in Kerbal Space Program, and today's goal is to go to the moon. We want to go there, land, plant a flag, get as much science as possible, and come back. We're trying to get as much science as we can for this career mode. So to get there, I want to take 2 Kerbals with me this time. So I have the initial pod and the second pod that carries 2 people, and I want to be able to land there. So with a craft of this size, I don't think the regular lander legs are going to cut it, so I'm making my own custom legs here with the machine parts, and they're much stronger. They can handle a heavier impact, and I can customize them for as wide a base as I want, so it should make for a safer landing. Now let's see, what else do we need? Do we have... Okay, we need to have 2 people on there. I want to have the pilot and a scientist, but I need to have one space open so I can shuffle them around when I let Bob out to collect science, because I'm going to put him in the main seat. There are no doors in the crew cabin. So we have our awesome moon lander here. Let's see if this is enough. Sorry, Mun lander. Yeah, that's right. And okay, let's give it a shot. Here we go. It's a good start so far. Got a nice tilt, reasonably stable. Of course, I'm sure the legs are giving us a little bit of drag, but it might still work out. Got our boosters gone. How are we doing in our second stage? All right, third stage. We're not getting as high as we should be, but let's see how far we can go with this. We're almost at the end of our third stage and we're not in orbit yet. We can get out of the Kerbin atmosphere. Can we get in orbit? Yeah, looks like orbit's not going to be a problem. Let's see here, almost at the apoapsis. Now we're burning, expanding. This is looking all right, but we are using more fuel than I planned. All right, so we have our orbit now with half a tank left. We only have 875 delta V left. We can reach the moon. So 875 delta V left, but we're gonna have to use 866 for the trip. We're not gonna have enough to come back. All right, let's see what we can do. We want to add this protective shell for more aerodynamics. That should help. And also I think if we swap out the engine for the Reliant, swap out the swivel for the Reliant, it has a stronger thrust, and give it some more fuel, maybe it'll help. We'll do 4 boosters instead of 3, and that'll give us a better initial start. Let's see how much of a difference this makes for us. So an extra booster, an extra fuel tank, and the Reliant rocket engine instead of the swivel. All right, stage 1 done. Stage 2. All right, so the Reliant's pushing us pretty, it's helping, it's making a difference. We are getting up there. Is this gonna work for us? Okay, let's get rid of the shell, make it lighter. We're in our last stage right now. It's looking a little better. We have our orbit. All right, now we're at 969 meters a second, but we're going to use just under 900. That's still not enough delta V to make it there and back. Let's try it again. All right, we need some more delta V. Let's add some late stage boosters to the top here that we can use while we're in space. So while we're in space, we're going to use these smaller engines here. So will that help us out? Okay, here we go. I think I also doubled our boosters in the bottom, so... Oh no, it's okay. So I added more weight to the top, so our second stage engine is not really enough to keep us going at a good speed. We do lose a little bit of speed. climb. We had a great start. I wonder if that balances out. All right, second stage. So now we have our extra late stage thrusters pushing with us here. We have three boosters pushing us in space here. Should give us a better, we'll have more delta V when we finish our orbit. And we have double the delta V. We have 2,300. So it looks like we can make it to the moon. This might be good. All right, so we do make it all the way to the moon. Our landing is pretty smooth and nice and balanced thanks to the legs. But can we make it back with only the little bit of fuel we have? And it looks like no, we can land. We just don't have enough to make it back with this design. Even trying to swim like a squid in space doesn't help us at all. So, all right, take 4, here we go. How can we make it lighter and add more fuel, more delta V to this one? So the first thing I want to do is lose this little compartment here so I can reduce the weight. So we'll take the parts, put it on the outside since we're going to use the protective shell anyway. So that's gone to reduce the weight. Second thing I'd like to do here is add more fuel to the late stage boosters. So we made it lighter, added a little bit more fuel. Does that help? We are able to get to the moon. However, we run out of fuel this time in our last stage, and if I ditch the legs, it's going to be hard to land just with this last stage. So I can get there, but I do need to have legs on this last stage, or balancing is going to be a problem. Can I do it? I don't think I can do it on this hill. I could have been lucky if it was a flat one, a flat landing zone, but it wasn't. But I do have all this fuel. It might still be possible to get back. So if I can just angle this rocket up the hill, I should be able to boost away and actually make it back. Okay, all right, so I got it pointing up the hill. We'll get off, plant our flag, get our science. And that wasn't even a second try, that was a 4th try. But okay, let's see, can we do this? Second try on the moon, I guess, that's fair. All right, so boost off slowly so nothing explodes and take off. All right, so we're airborne. We have about 700 delta V left. Get out into space, leave the moon's orbit, and unfortunately, we run out of fuel before we can make it a close enough approach to Kerbin. All right, so we'll try one more time. Let's take off this tank here so that it's not so heavy during the first stages. And then, instead of the 2-seater cabin, let's put in the lighter pod here for 1 Kerbal to make it lighter. We're also going to make the late stage lighter by putting the Science Junior in the second to last stage. So when it detaches, the engine doesn't have to carry it home. We have the storage unit for the experiments, so we'll just transfer everything there. We're also going to double the late stage boosters. Now we have 4 late stage boosters, and we're going to try putting in some lighter landing legs here this time. But instead of the legs again, I'm just going to use the extending pistons. These are about less than half of the weight of the legs I constructed last time. And since our lander is not as long, it should be enough anyway. All right, let's see how this works for us. Got a nice strong boost, get rid of those. Lost the wings, but that's fine. So we're still losing speed on the ascent. We got to do something about that. All right, so this time, why don't we add another set of boosters that we can use in the second stage. We're going to use these little guys here. These are the thumpers, I forgot what they're called. But yeah, the little boosters, the liquid fuel, solid fuel boosters. So, first boosters get us up, ditch those. And when the fuel runs out of that bottom tank, we're still losing speed a little bit. We'll make it up now. All right, good thrust here, increasing in speed quickly. So we can get out of the atmosphere so that when we switch, we don't lose a lot of speed. And now we should be picking up speed again. Okay, great. This might have worked out well for us. Get rid of the shell, lose a little bit of weight, drop that tank, and now we have our 4 detachable engines to carry us to the moon. Excuse me. All right, let's use that 5th engine just so we can get a nicer orbit right now and then figure out the fuel later. Okay, so we have a nice stable orbit. The moon is at 3 o'clock. Let's angle towards 12 o'clock. All right, here is our approach. And as you can see, we have almost 4,000 delta V left, much better. And we're only going to use 860 delta V to get there. We'll have plenty to land and come home, I hope. All right, so here is our approach. Fantastic. All right, so now that we got this worked out, we need to make sure we get all of the science necessary. So we'll also have Bob hop out, get his EVA, do the EVA science as well. And I love these little animations. There we go. Great. Now, because we can't automatically reset the Science Junior and the GOO, we're going to have to use the scientist, use Bob to manually reset them, but we'll do that every time. But looks like doing the EVA altered my trajectory. You see here, it has us going right into the MUN, even though it wasn't like that a second ago. So be careful when you do the EVA, your Kerbal might push the ship a little bit. So we'll fix that and go on our approach. And this is our first moon visit with some of these pieces of science equipment. So we want to make sure to get our science at low Kerbin orbit, high Kerbin orbit, high MUN orbit, and low MUN orbit, and then again on the surface. So I'll be doing this a few times. But all right, so here we go. Let's get in close to the periapsis and then make our orbit. Shrink that in, and there we go. So we're at about 20-ish kilometers above the surface. Go out, get our science, reset the stuff. And you do get EVA science at different locations, but every time you do an EVA, be careful, it's changing the trajectory again. I went down from 24 to 17,000 kilometers, I think. And I did the EVA again. Let's see if it's how much it's affecting our orbit this time. And yep, down to 8,000. So Bob is pushing the ship. If we're not careful with that, we could crash. So fix it back to 20,000 just to be safe. Go over the crater, get some more science. Like I said, you could do an EVA and get different science points for different parts of terrain. And I'm going to have to adjust the orbit a little bit to make sure I don't crash. There we go. Okay, keeping it safe at 20. Just be mindful so I don't warp right into the planet. Get out, get the science. If you do an EVA over the same kind of land, like Highlands twice, it'll say, you know, you duplicate data, what should you do? And it'll make you dump it. But don't worry, you know, it's worth trying. It's hard to tell without scanning the planet if you're over highlands or lowlands and stuff. All right, so it's time to start getting ready for our descent. But like I said, every time we use Bob to do the science, he pushes the ship, right? So if it's going to reduce our orbit anyway, I'm just going to use Bob to reduce our orbit manually instead of using thrust. We were able to get it down to 6,000-ish, and then we'll let the engines do the rest. And we do want to land on the brighter side of the MUN to make it easier for landing, because it's really hard to land in darkness. Okay, here we go. Warping down, so far so good. I want to try to land in the crater. I think that'll be fun. We get some science from there. And the MUN has a few different craters, like the east side and the west, maybe the north crater as well. I'm not sure which one this is exactly, but who cares? It'll be a crater we can get some good science from. All right, so we're slowing down, and with the 4 or 5 engines, I'm only using the 4 engines. I'm saving the last one for the return trip, and to make it lighter. So we used all of the fuel in the 4 engines on the outside. We're going to dump those, make it lighter, so this will make the landing and the final launch much easier. Okay, here on our approach, slow down a little bit and extend the pistons to extend our landing legs. And all we have to do is slow down and land carefully. Just be careful when you're landing like this. Be careful not to keep your SAS in retrograde, because if you actually speed up too much, you'll flip the plane. So put it back in just stability. That way you can control the ship a lot better. But nice smooth landing here. And we got something floating in the background. I think that's one of our boosters. That's kind of creepy looking. And bye-bye booster. Okay, out of sight, out of mind. Successful landing. So let's save just in case and get all the science we can before heading home. All right, we'll get our goo, store everything there, get our science junior, get our data 100 science from that. That's really nice. That's good. Store that. Okay, time to EVA. Let's get Bob outside. Look at all this science we can get from here. And be careful when you're leaving the ship not to push it over, because it's stable enough, but on the moon it is light enough where if you flew against the ship, you could tip it over. But we're safe. We did good. And we have our flag on the Far East Crater, I think. Yeah, baby. I think that was my 7th try to get here. I did it a few times, but we did it. This was successful. And we can also perform our EVA science, if you call this science. Good shot. Good job. All right, that's worth 100 science for itself. And here I'm enjoying the view of the moon, but also I do want to look around just in case there are any anomalies that we can check out close by. I don't really see any. All right, so time to go back. And like I said, let's fly up nice and slow. We don't want to slam into the ship and knock it over. And luckily, since we have this pod instead of the crew cabin, we can just board directly to it without shuffling anyone around. So we did get a lot of achievements here, entering the orbit of the moon, landing on it, walking on it, planting a flag. For all of that, we get money and science from it, which is great. So it's the best way to gain money and science points. All right, so let's go. We're on our way back. We've got just under 2,000 Delta V. And we dumped that bottom tank. Now we have the last tank with a really light craft. This is going to be really nice for our return. So we'll just get into a nice, short, stable orbit. Doesn't even have to be too high. Doesn't even have to, we have it at 29,000. Doesn't have to be that high, but nice and safe. Okay. Right at the apoapsis. Wait a minute. Can you stop spinning, please? Why won't you stop spinning? I am out of electric charge. I don't have solar panels. Okay, can we still do this? Is this possible? Can I control the ship? Yes. Okay, so if you are using your engines, if you use your thrust a little bit, you can still control the craft's direction without electric charge. That's really good to know. We're gonna have to use that to get home with no electric charge. Can we do this? All right, so we're gonna have to fly opposite the direction of our orbit to get an inward orbit to reduce our speed. Now we're in orbit of Kerbin, and I want to be as efficient with the fuel as possible, so I'm going to decelerate right at the apoapsis, at the high point of our orbit, and bring that in. I want to enter the atmosphere under 70 kilometers, and 40-ish should be good enough, even at this far away, enough to go in without shooting back out of the atmosphere again. So let's see what happens. We still have 700 Delta V we can use to slow us down as well, and to maneuver with, which we do need. So keep on really, really low thrust, just to maneuver with. It doesn't change our orbit too much. Just flip around to retrograde, or pointing away from the direction we're going. Okay, fast forward a little bit to get closer. Now, unfortunately, I didn't plan this. I could have waited, but we are entering on the dark side, which makes it a little bit hard to see, but really won't cause too many problems. Our tank ran out of fuel, so I couldn't keep it to save money, so we just dump that, and we'll use our heat shield for re-entry. We do have 3 parachutes to save us, which is overkill, but you know, nice to be safe. Our parachutes open safely, and all we have to do now is land. And we're at a nice slow 4.5 meters per second to the surface, and that's a perfectly safe landing. Mostly, except for this rolling. But yeah, that's good. Mostly good. Still safe. We're okay. Yep, this looks like a successful landing to me. And I'd like to certify that. Awesome, thank you very much. Once it stops rolling, we can finally collect the ship, and we are good to go. And that was our successful moon landing, everyone. Thank you for joining me, and hope to see you at the next one.